Our headlines this Wednesday afternoon, October 4th here in Seoul. South Korea's industrial output increased in August month on month. What's especially worth noting is chip production, which jumped by over 13%. For the first ever, a Speaker of the U.S. House has been removed from his position. That's Kevin McCarthy, who was voted off by Democrats and a few representatives from his own Republican Party following the passage of a controversial budget extension. Asia's largest film festival is now in session. The 2023 Busan International Film Festival will run for 10 days, showcasing 269 films and welcoming top stars such as actor Song Kang-woo. It's 2 p.m. here in South Korea. I'm Shin Yeun, filling in for Min Sunny. We start with some positives for Korea's economy. The country's industrial output is picking up pace. August marked the biggest month-on-month increase in 2.5 years, largely driven by a recovery in chip production. An Sung-jin reports.
South Korea's overall industrial production for August saw the highest month-on-month increase since February 2021. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, alongside the manufacturing and services sector seeing improvement, industrial production also rose by 2.2% compared to the previous month. The mining and manufacturing sector mainly contributed to the boost in industrial production, as semiconductor output climbed by 13.4%. This figure indicates a rebound for the industry, which saw a year-on-year increase of 8.3%, with a boost in the production of memory chips.
These figures for semiconductor production also reflect quality, not only volume. Production of high-performance memory chips, for example, saw an increase as demand also increased.
Infrastructure investment also increased by 3.6% compared to July as investing in chips and transportation rose, though this is a 14.9% year-on-year decrease as spending on mechanical products and vehicles fell. The services sector also saw a slight increase as the sports and leisure industry increased by 6.2%. Despite an overall increase in production, consumption for August slightly fell by 0.3% as sales of vehicles and clothing declined. An official from Statistics Korea noted that high interest rates took a toll on sluggish consumption patterns. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Now that we've finished the 6-day Chuseok Thanksgiving holiday, it's almost time to wrap up the remainder of this year. On that note, the top office has stated its main policy priorities for the fourth quarter. That is, helping the country's economy and households get through the final months of the year. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young has more.
Supporting Korean businesses and households will top President Yoon Suk-yeol's agenda for the remainder of the year, amid fragile trade conditions and a likely rise in the cost of living. The presidential office said Tuesday that in the fourth quarter, the Yoon administration will run state affairs with a focus on revitalizing the Korean economy, including exports and investment, stabilizing people's livelihoods, as well as strengthening diplomacy and security. Following the extended Chuseok holiday, presidential spokesperson Lee Do-won said the government plans to support export businesses to help their recovery by the year end, as trade figures on Sunday show the country's decline of outbound shipments slightly eased in September as semiconductor chip sales rebounded. Despite the recent turnaround for major trade industries, including chips, automobiles and petrochemicals, Lee acknowledged that trade uncertainties still remain, given Seoul's heavy trade dependency and rising global energy prices. He emphasized the government's growing focus on boosting the domestic economy.
The President's summit diplomacy has continued to focus more on investment in Korea from foreign governments and firms, rather than foreign investment made by Korean companies.
Key pledges include Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates' respective promises to invest $29 billion and $30 billion US, which are expected to create high-quality jobs for South Koreans. He added that the Yoon administration will continue to manage price levels and real estate policies that directly impact people's livelihoods. This comes amid concerns that growing energy and material costs will push up food and utility bills in the country, which, according to the International Monetary Fund on Tuesday, saw household debt increase in 2021 by the highest rate among OECD countries since the COVID-19 pandemic. Boosting the economy will be a critical task for the incumbent government, just half a year away from the parliamentary elections, with a number of presidential aides moving to enter the race over the coming weeks. A senior presidential official said Tuesday that over 30 aides in the top office are preparing to throw their hats in the ring. and resign from their current positions after the National Assembly concludes its annual government audit this month. 오수영, Arirang News.
South Korean automakers Hyundai Motor and Kia saw their sales in the U.S. hit the highest ever for the month of September. Hyundai sold more than 68,000 vehicles last month, a 16% increase from last year. Kia also sold over 67,000 last month, a 20% year-on-year increase. Kia has achieved an on-year increase in its sales volume for 14 consecutive months. For both of the companies, the sales volume of electric vehicles and SUVs rose the most of all product types. Moving on to the security front, the Defense Ministry has warned that North Korea's use of nuclear weapons will bring about the end of the regime. Wednesday's warning comes after Pyongyang last week enshrined its status as a nuclear power in its constitution. The ministry said South Korea's military possesses a joint Seoul-Washington readiness posture that can overwhelmingly respond to any attack from North Korea. It added such threats to peace and stability will further isolate North Korea from the international community and worsen the suffering of its people. Pyongyang's constitutional amendment stated its ambition to advance its nuclear capabilities, reinforcing the idea that denuclearization is not up for discussion. Meanwhile, Japan is gearing up to release the second batch of Fukushima wastewater. This discharge could happen as early as tomorrow. It will be a similar amount as the first discharge, which ended about 3 weeks ago. Choi Soo-young has the details.
Japan is reportedly getting ready to release a second batch of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant on Thursday. The Tokyo Electric Power Company will take a small amount of contaminated water, which has been diluted with seawater, and test the level of a radioactive substance called tritium. Then, if the level is below a safety limit, the release will begin as planned. The first release, which began on August 24th until September 11th, saw 7,788 tons of contaminated water released into the sea. TEPCO plans to release a similar amount this time too. It will take around 17 days with 460 tons released each day. China banned all Japanese seafood imports after the first release, and Russia is also considering following suit. TEPCO on Monday started receiving reports of reputational damage from the Japanese fishing industry related to compensation for foreign imports bans. The Nikkei Shimbun in Tokyo estimates the economic losses to be around $66 million. The Tokyo metropolitan government will run a promotion from October 27th to December 8th, offering people up to 1,000 yen, approximately $6 in points, if they dine on seafood at sushi restaurants and fishy stores within the city. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Asia's largest film festival will soon kick off in South Korea's largest port city of Busan. The 28th Busan International Film Festival will start at 6 p.m. today. Iuni walks us through what to expect over the course of the next 10 days.
Asia's biggest film festival, the Busan International Film Festival, begins on Wednesday for a 10-day run in the southeastern port city. This year's festival will feature 269 films, with 209 from 69 countries in the official selection, including 80 world premieres and 7 international debuts, alongside 60 from the BIFF community. Iconic Korean actor Song Kang-ho will grace the film festival, adding star power to the event. Song, representing Korean cinema, will stand in for the vacant festival chairman and director positions and host the opening ceremony, welcoming guests from around the world. The festival will open with director Jang Gun-jae's movie Because I Hate Korea. At the opening ceremony, renowned Hong Kong star Chu Yun-bae will be honored with the Asian Filmmaker of the Year award, and 3 of his celebrated recent films will be screened in a special section. The gala presentation, which introduces the latest works of master directors and globally acclaimed films, will feature 3 movies. These include Monster, recipient of the Best Screenplay Award at this year's Cannes Film Festival, which will be screened at the Outdoor Theatre. Director Koreeda Hirokazu will be present to introduce his film. Dogya was in the panorama section of the Berlin International Film Festival, will be screened with actresses Fan Bingbing and Lee Ju-young in attendance.
This year's film festival will introduce a Korean-American special showcase for the first time, spotlighting the achievements of Korean-American filmmakers. The closing ceremony will take place on October 13th, with a screening of the movie Emperor, a Chinese film directed by Nang Hao. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., after the controversial budget passage, the U.S. House passed an unprecedented motion to remove its Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. This is the first time ever the House has removed its own Speaker, and the move has been spearheaded by Democrats, along with a few from McCarthy's own Republican Party. Lee Si-woo has the latest.
The motion to oust Kevin McCarthy, driven by a small group of right-wing Republicans, passed in a 216 to 210 vote, making him the first Speaker of the House to be ousted in a no-confidence vote. The motion to vacate the chair of the U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was introduced by Republican Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida.
Chaos is Speaker McCarthy. Chaos is somebody who we cannot trust with their word.
Despite opposing views and support for McCarthy, also a Republican.
And one thing Speaker McCarthy embraced from day one is to start making those kind of changes to this institution, opening up the process, allowing members to be more engaged, having amendments come to the floor, single subject bills, doing appropriations bills.
No clear successor has emerged yet, but Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina has assumed the role of Speaker pro tempore. The ouster was set in motion on Saturday when Mr. McCarthy averted a government shutdown by passing a short-term funding bill with the help of House Democrats before it passed the Senate and was signed by President Biden. The 45-day continuing resolution displeased some Republicans in the House who accused McCarthy of not doing enough to cut federal spending. The vacancy comes at a critical time when Congress has just a little over 40 days to avert another potential shutdown of the government. Lee Si-woo, Arirang News.
Thailand has witnessed a rare mass shooting. At least 2 people have died from a shooting spree on Tuesday at an upscale Bangkok mall. The police have arrested a 14-year-old suspect who they say had been receiving psychiatric treatment. Lee Kyung-eun tells us more.
Hundreds of people scream and race into the streets in Thailand's capital Bangkok after gunshots rang out at a luxury mall. On Tuesday, a 14-year-old boy opened fire at Sea and Paragon Mall in the city's crowded tourist hotspot, killing at least 2 foreigners, both women, one from China and one from Myanmar. 5 others were also wounded. Shoppers recalled that the chaos happened in just a few minutes and multiple gunshots were heard.
I feel frightened. I never thought something like this was going to happen. I live pretty close to this place. Now I feel relief as the suspect has been arrested.
We see all the people run. We don't understand why it happened. And so we go after them. And after that we hear a shots, various shots. And
various shots?
Very shots.
Like lots of shots?
Yes.
How many?
Like 6, 7 shots.
The teenage suspect was taken into custody after a police officer apprehended and handcuffed an individual lying face down on the floor at the mall. Little information is given about the suspect, who the police stress is very young and protected by the Child Protection Act, but told media that he had been receiving psychiatric treatment.
He's being treated for a mental illness at the Rajaviti hospital. He didn't take his medicine. He said he felt someone talk to him and told him to shoot someone. He felt like he had another personality.
While mass shootings are rare in Thailand, the incident marks the latest high-profile gun violence to rock the country. It comes a year after an ex-police officer killed 35 people. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
This year's Nobel Prize for Physics was given to a trio of scientists who generated extremely short laser pulses that can capture the, quote, shortest of moments. Lee Seung-jae reports.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences announced Tuesday that it had awarded this year's Nobel Prize in Physics to 3 scientists.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the 2023 Nobel Prize in Physics in equal shares to Pierre Agostini, The Ohio State University, USA, Ferenc Krauss, Max Planck Institute for Quantenoptik, Garching, and Ludwig Maximilians Universität München, Germany, and Anne Luyer, Lund University, Sweden, for experimental methods that generate attosecond pulses of light for the study of electron dynamics in matter.
Their experiments created extremely short laser pulses that were used to capture and study rapid processes inside atoms, where an attosecond is a mere quintillionth of a second. Simply put, an attosecond is to a second what 1 second is to the age of the universe. Their work demonstrated that such short pulses can be used to study how electrons behave. As electrons move incredibly fast, in billionths of a second, they appear as blurs under the most advanced microscopes. However, through nanosecond physics, it will open a world of important processes inside atoms and molecules with sharper focus. Meanwhile, this year's Nobel Prize in Physics was all the more important as Anne Luyer became just the 5th woman in history to win the award. During a press conference on Tuesday, the Nobel Physics laureate stressed the importance of more women aiming to win the Nobel Prize, especially in physics, a subject where there is the least amount of women. The trio of Nobel Prize winners will also share the prize money of 11 million Swedish krona, or $991,000 US. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Staying on science, a long-time mission for researchers has been developing a pill to help people eat fattening food without gaining the extra pounds. Recently, a group of South Korean researchers has had a breakthrough. Chung Eun-ju tells us more.
These mice gained weight after eating a high-fat diet and are larger than regular mice. Conversely, these other mice also ate a high-fat diet but did not gain weight. Comparing their weights, the latter were half as heavy. This came from daily administering a new drug developed by South Korean researchers.
The weight of the mice receiving the drug decreased by around 35% and was similar to that of mice on a regular diet.
The researchers targeted an obesity-suppressing switch in the brain called GABRA5. Located in the lateral hypothalamus of the brain, GABRA5 is a cluster of nerve cells connected to fat cells throughout the body. When GABRA5 is active, the buildup of fat within the body is suppressed. When its activity weakens, the opposite occurs. The researchers found that star-shaped cells in the brain secreted an enzyme called MAO-B. MAO-B then synthesized a neurotransmitter, GABA, to turn off the obesity-suppressing switch. When they administered KDS-2010, a MAO-B inhibitor they developed, the switch was turned on, thereby suppressing obesity. This is the first time researchers have shown the exact mechanism of how the brain is involved in fat metabolism.
Originally developed as a treatment for Alzheimer's, we believe it can be administered orally with minimal side effects and almost no rebound effect.
Clinical Phase 1 trials to observe side effects of KDS-2010 in humans are currently underway. Phase 2 trials will be conducted from 2024 to determine if the drug produces weight loss in humans. Chung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
Now on to the Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. Team Korea is continuing its campaign for more gold medals, with events in high jump and wrestling set to take place. The country has also added a gold in Go after the Mind Sports' 13-year absence from the Asian Games. Our Matthew Ashley has the details.
We begin with Go, where South Korea's men's team on Tuesday clinched its second straight gold medal after beating China. The medal comes 13 years after Go was last played at the Asian Games in 2010 in Guangzhou, China. The win came hours after the women's team won silver on the same day. The Mind Sport is a strategy board game where players try to surround more territory than their opponent. It's widely known as Paduk in Korea. Team Korea will now have its eyes set on winning more golds in wrestling and high jump events scheduled for later today. In track and field, South Korea on Tuesday won bronze in the 4x100-meter relay, marking its first medal in 37 years for the event at the Asian Games. The team, composed of Lee Jong-tae, Kim Guk-kyung, Lee Jae-sung and Go Seung-hwan, finished right ahead of Thailand with a time of 38.74 seconds, a new national record. China took gold and Japan won silver. More athletics events are scheduled up until Saturday. A favorite will be the high jump event scheduled for Wednesday, where South Korean medal contender Woo Sang-hyuk is set to participate. Moving on to baseball, South Korea is through to the next stage in the Asian Games after thrashing Thailand 17-0 on Tuesday. The win means that South Korea was able to finish second in the preliminary stages in Group B with a 2-1 record. This after losing 4-0 to Chinese Taipei the previous day. Chinese Taipei finished top of the group. Both teams are now set to face off against the top two teams from Group A in what's known as the Super Round. In this round, the results from the preliminary stages are carried over, which means that South Korea will begin with a 0-1 disadvantage. Winners from the Super Round will advance to the gold medal event, which is slated for Saturday. And finally, South Korea's women's handball team is through to the final after beating host country China on Tuesday, 30-23. The first half was tightly contested, with South Korea eking out a small lead at 15-14. But they widened the margin in the second half, helped by a strong defense. South Korea have dominated the sport at the Asian Games since 1990, winning the gold medal 7 of 8 times. They will be playing for their 8th gold on Thursday against Japan. The teams last met in the semi-finals in 2010 in Guangzhou, China, where Japan narrowly won 29-28. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. The air outside feels nothing like a week ago. It has gotten so much chillier over the holiday. There will be light rain in central regions, 5 to 20 millimeters in the forecast with thunder and lightning. But the skies will remain sunny with high UV rays until the rain falls. Today's rain will bring chillier air to central parts of the country. Seoul wakes up to 10 degrees Celsius tomorrow and 9 degrees on Friday. In mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could see some frost. Now back to today's forecast. Seoul and Chuncheon are as breezy as yesterday, topping out at 23 degrees Celsius. We could be seeing spotty rain in the capital at around 7 p.m., but not enough to carry around an umbrella. There's a chilly morning in store to wrap up the week, but temperatures will return to normal on the weekend, while Jeju Island is forecast to see some showers. Meanwhile, the rest of the country will have promising weather conditions for the upcoming 3-day weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That was the latest in Korea at this hour. Do stay with us for Issues and Insiders, where we'll discuss what to expect at this year's Busan International Film Festival. As for the Daily Report, we'll see you again at this time tomorrow.